Hey guys, thanks for joining us today. Diesel Care and Performance here, going over a few things. I'm Chris. I'm from sales, and my lovely co-host here
is Billy from the technical department.
And what we're doing today is going over a few symptoms, issues, just general 6.0 knowledge that you may already know, you might not. We're just here to help you out a little bit. And at the end of this video, what we're going to do is go over our cap contest that we posted on Instagram maybe a few weeks ago. We had people guess caps in the jar, old jelly bean in the jar style, and there's a number on the bottom of this that tells us how many's there. Price is Right style. If you get close enough or hit the number without going over, then you win. So whoever he or she may be gets a lot of cool diesel care stuff when the video's over, and you'll know if you won. And then we'll post that in the notes. So let's start with diesel care real fast. If you just want to take a look, browse around, you have got a diesel truck, we're at dieselcare.store. If you have questions or issues or comments, you can call us at 1-800-961-9290. And we're also on Instagram and all those other things. I'll leave the handles below. If you would rather email us, we're at sales@dieselcare.net. So, moving forward, I'll hand it over to Billy here while he gives us a little bit of a history on the 6.0.
Well, thank you, Chris. The 6.0 is a very popular truck, obviously, and there was a ton of them manufactured. Most of you out there who own one, you're probably going to be familiar with a lot of what I'm going to be talking about. Let me start off by talking a little bit about the differences between the 7.3 and the 6.0, and even going back a little bit further to the 7.3 IDI, or indirect injected. Every iteration of the engine has gotten more and more complex. We went from the 7.3 IDI, which was an injection pump, conventional injectors. You could probably change the whole system for around $600. You move to the Ford 7.3 Power Stroke. It incorporated the Huey type system, which the 6.0 is also a Huey, and Huey stands for hydraulically actuated, electronically controlled. And the system in the 7.3 worked extremely well. It's a very popular truck, still have a ton of them on the road today. When they moved from the 7.3 to the 6.0, that was just about the time that emission standards really began to move the engineering along and take them down a certain path that some of you may like, some of you may not. But the 6.0 had to incorporate various things to accommodate the emission standards, accommodate the mileage standards, and make it to where you can afford it. And so this is the 6.0 injector that we're talking about. The 6.0 still uses the fuel and the oil circuit within it. The upper part of the injector controls the metering of the fuel via a spool valve. If you were to take a look at a conventional 7.3 injector, I probably should have had one here. It was a very simple stator setup on the very top. Shoot a little juice to it, it pulls an armature up. 6.0s, they went Terminator on this. They kicked it up a notch, as Emerald would say. And they incorporated two essential stators, and they move a spool valve back and forth. And that was a very good design. It allowed for just precise metering of the fuel, but it also caused a little bit of issues, especially if you had any fuel contamination. Also uses, just like the 7.3, uses high pressure oil to assist in firing the injector. There again, the 6.0 has been accused of, and rightfully so, overusing the oil circuit in a variety of manners. And it was also very susceptible to oil contamination and oil failures.
Speaking of that real fast, and again, if you're just joining us, we're at Diesel Care and Performance. We're going over some facts on the 6.0, history and thereof. At the end of the video, we're going to go through our cap contest and see who our winner is, and gets a lot of cool diesel care stuff. and we'll do that at the end. But to reference what you're speaking on, the issues with the 6.0 injector and the oil system and all that, injector failure. Well, real fast, if I can switch gears, what does that look like?
Well, let me kind of start with what would be happening with your truck. Okay, if you going out on a cold morning, you start it up, it takes forever to finally crank over. It's missing. You might even actually feel your truck, vibrate. It's white smoking. You get in it, go 3-4 miles down the road, and all of a sudden it clears up. That is indicative of what we call a stiction failure. And let me explain a little bit about that. Stiction, and let me just illustrate it this way.
Don't forget your...
Yeah, I'm going to show this in just a minute. I don't want to blow the lead, as they say in this industry. If I were to place a penny on top of this table here, I could pretty easily pick it up, even with my big bear claws. But if I were to take a little bit of engine oil and put it there and then put that penny in the center of it, picking it up becomes a little bit harder. And that's because that oil is acting as a cohesion material. And the very same thing happened in the original 6.0 injectors. Ford, when they were incorporating the dual magnet setup with the spool valve, the way it was designed is when you would turn the engine off, the spool valve would go into the start position automatically. And it would bottom out against this, what we call an earmuff. And that stiction, because there was a slight bit of oil there, would hold that spool valve longer than it should. It wouldn't allow it to actually do its job. As soon as the oil gets a little warmer, the viscosity of it changes, it gets a little bit thinner, the injector wakes up. And so Ford recognized that problem, and they came up with a brilliant yet simple design. And I know you can't see this with the camera, but our media guy will maybe post some pictures afterwards. They came up with a stiction notch. And so basically what they did is they opened up an air passage so it could get behind the spool valve, and that allowed for it to operate properly, even in cold conditions, or maybe those of you out there who push your mileage maintenance and your oil maintenance a little bit far. Don't do that. So one of the things that we do in our injectors is we put the new design earmuffs or wiring looms, whatever vernacular you want to use. We use the most updated design in all of our injectors. We do not reuse the original. There's a lot of companies out there that won't bear the expense of doing that. That's a mistake, because eventually you will have stiction issues. It's just going to happen. So that's the number one failure that we see. A close second to it, actually, we see again quite often. It's where an injector has been rebuilt, and there are two small screws that hold this solenoid in place. And what we found is that a lot of times when injectors would be rebuilt by someone, that they would either be over torqued or under torqued, and they wouldn't use the right adhesion material, and you'd get into a hard pull, maybe pulling a trailer going up a hill, and all of a sudden you'd lose oil pressure, where literally the screws would break and this whole piece would just fall off into your valve cover.
And correct me if I'm wrong, I'm just a simple salesman, but if your injector comes in half while you're driving it, that would be bad, correct?
Unless you're a mechanic. But yeah.
Unless you're a mechanic.
Yeah, but yes, it is extremely bad. And we see that failure. What did we do to correct it? Number one, we test the tolerances on all the components of the injector. We use a digital torque meter to get the torque precise, and we use the right cohesion materials. So we see that failure, and then we see the typical failures as well, which this is a nozzle came out of an injector. Nozzle failures are They've been around for 50 years or more. They basically fail for a couple of things. One is just fuel contamination. You pushing your filter limits a little bit too far, and it kind of bites you because your nozzle gets wore out.
Water can be an issue too in the nozzle, right?
Water can be an issue, and especially this time of year. If you watch this video later, it's early January. This time of year, there's a lot of temperature variances, especially in the Mid-South, where we are. And what ends up happening is you'll have a warm day and then a cold day, and you'll get condensation in the tanks, especially if a tank is above ground, but even below ground. All that water goes somewhere, and it goes into your tank. And so if you get water in a fuel system, the one thing about water doesn't compress. That's why you have to let your pipes drip during cold nights.
Can you tell me what happens when water does get in your injector?
When enough water gets into it, basically when it tries to compress the fuel with the waters in there, it just acts as an agent, more like shooting a bullet through the nozzle tip, and it'll blow this entire cone off.
Best case scenario, it lands in your oil pan?
Well,
after chewing on your piston for a little bit?
Yeah, it's definitely not a road you want to go down. I'll say that if you're out there and you see your water and fuel light come on, don't ignore it. It's there for a reason. You can go from changing a $10 filter to a $1,000 set of injectors, or to a $6,000, $7,000 engine. So pay attention to that. Also, at our website, dieselcare.store, you can go and visit. We have some water separator options, or you can call the technical department. We can set you up with, like I said, fuel water separators, early indicators, those type things. But that's definitely something that you want to try to avoid.
Well, I think it's a good time to briefly remind everyone what we're doing here and who we are. Diesel Care and Performance, going over some 6.0 fun facts. I'm Chris, I'm in sales. Again, my co-host here.
I'm Billy, I'm in the technical department.
And what we're doing, like I said, is going over some 6.0 information. We're going to unveil our cap contest winner at the end of this, who gets a cool little gift bag full of Diesel Care swag, like this awesome 3/4 tee. I stole one when they first came in, and it's got our logo and JDB on the back, but I like 3/4 tees, so I stole one already. So, and
in that case, I'm taking that tool back.
All right, fair enough. And if you'd obviously when you win, you'll get a lot more stuff than that, but I'm just unveiling them one at a time. So, reminding everyone why we're here, what we're doing, dieselcare.store. Give us a call anytime at 1-800-961-9290. We're happy to answer your questions. Most easily reachable Monday to Friday, 8 to 5 Central Time. So, moving forward, Diesel Care injectors. Benefit to calling us instead of someone who doesn't list their number online, someone that's not easily contacted. Besides those obvious benefits, tell me about our injector, please.
Well, let me, in the effort of full disclosure, because I didn't want to sound like I'm just selling injectors up here, I did want to mention one misdiagnosis, and it's just very brief. This is an injector core that came back from one of our customers, and we had a discussion with him and explained to him that the injector was not the cause of the failure. In this instance, in talking to him, he had a defective cup which allowed compression gas to get up in here. It forced the compression gas up into the fuel gallery, and essentially it caused him to buy a set of injectors that he may have not needed. So if you see an injector like that, take a pause before you order a full set. Sometimes all you need to do is send the injectors in, we'll check them, clean them, re-O-ring them, you're good to go for another 100,000 miles.
Yep.
So let's talk about our injectors for a minute. Now I am selling injectors. Again, we talked about the wiring looms. You're going to get that, the most updated design. This is exactly what is used on Ford injectors. With the stiction modification, which again is paramount, you're going to get a new spool valve, which is the entire assembly up here. This spool valve, full disclosure, we've tried to reuse it before and we failed miserably. So we put the extra time, energy, and money into it to make you happy and to keep us from pulling our hair out. We do all of the proper machining of the components. We have the proper torque values for everything that's in here. We worked in conjunction with the Association of Diesel Specialists who helped design the rebuild protocols and the calibration. And that takes me to probably the single biggest thing that I take a lot of pride in, and I think really makes the difference in our product, and that we use OEM calibration equipment. There are companies out there and that they don't have a piece of machinery to even test it with. You do not want to deal with a company that can't verify that the product is right. You don't want to use your truck as a test stand. So we use the Hartridge equipment. That is what originally when this injector was designed, that's what they were run out on. We use that same equipment. Everything is calibrated to new standards, and it's a good quality product. I'm very proud of what we put out there.
And what I find about these that people like is that they can reach us, they're affordable, and if you call in, we're not going to just sell you a set of injectors because that's a nice ticket. We're going to help you figure out your symptoms and issues and go from there. But,
well, and let me, one last thing that was probably on script, but I missed it, so you can dock my pay, is the ability to call. And, things like this are nice, but if you buy from a website, and we sell a lot online, look around a website. If there's not a phone number, there's no way to contact someone, you need to take a pause before you spend $1,000 or $1,500 with a company that you can't get in touch with. Support after the sale sets us apart. Every employee here that is in customer service or in sales, they have a company issued cell phone, and they pretty much answer it 6 days a week. And so we understand that this business is not necessarily a 9 to 5, certainly not for someone who lives in California,
yeah.
Who, we're gone by 2:30 his time. So the ability to reach out and talk to us, and let me add one other thing. We don't just talk about our products. If you've got a problem with a truck, whether you've spent a dime with us or not, pick up the phone and call us. Yeah, we're trying to sell you something. I'm not going to lie about that. But at the end of the day, we feel like this is our business and we're the professionals. And if we can help you diagnose your vehicle, we're going to do it. So I think that's a big difference, yeah. and a real plus.
Well said. I think it's about time we wrap things up here and get to the part everyone's anxious for, especially if anyone watching was a part of our cap contest. So I think we've hit all the major points. Again, website, dieselcare.store. Call us 1-800-961-9290. But let's get to the fun part. So
okay. I don't know the answer, but I'm going to say that there's 84 in there.
Well, I'm not really good at these kind of things. I'd say there's maybe 2 dozen in here. I'm probably off. But the answer is on the bottom of this jar, and a drum roll, small drum roll. There's 172 caps inside this one giant mason jar, which you can see here.
Show them what they won.
So, for winning, you get the t-shirt I showed you. You get your hat, you get the cool Diesel Care juice cup, Diesel Care mug, and I think the biggest, nicest piece in here is the Diesel Care toolbox or tool carrier, which I think and I hope someone will enjoy. So if you did count the right number of caps without going over, we'll post your information on there. We'll reach out to you and get your shirt size and everything, and we'll send it off right away. So thank you guys for watching. If you have any comments or suggestions on what we should do next time for our next video, please feel free to reach out and let us know what you'd like us to do next. Anything else? You good to go?
Thank you. I'm sorry I was so far off on the caps, but I'm still taking the tool bag.
Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you again next time.